Good evening again. Steve here. Last night, myself and about a dozen other people had a coffee chat, and we had a guest speaker who spoke for, probably 15 or 20 minutes. Mark Willems is his name, a very experienced speaker, spent many years in Toastmasters and has a love of communicating ideas to people. He spoke on an idea. Let me just, I forget the title of it. What do you do after well done? I think it's called. Something like that was the title of his speech. But his basic overall of the speech was, he asked several times, is anybody here feel that they are in the charge of people in some way? Like, are you a boss of a work group, or are you a parent? And actually, he made the point, that's the most significant one, is the parent one in a way. He, because he said that saying well done, good job, great, you're doing great kind of thing goes far enough, all right, and it's important to a certain level. But what happens when well done is not really enough anymore? The point he was getting to was, what happens when we sort of graduate from the charge of our parents, for example? Then what? And then he relayed some of the stories that related to him in terms of his experience. His experience was that if somebody told him that something was impossible, that would get him fired up. Because now he had to prove to himself and to the other person or whatever that, he was going to do it some way. I mean, he did acknowledge that, there's the uncontrollables, like the sky is blue, whatever. I mean, so what, right? But he used the example of a 40-foot wall, 10 feet high. You got to stand it up and put it in place. But you can't bring a machine in to do it. People told him this is impossible. The guy who was helping him build it told him, what we have to do is build, because they were building it lying down, I guess. They were going to stand it up, right? And it was a heavy wooden wall. It was going to weigh several thousand pounds. I forget, a lot of weight anyways. Because it was going to have plywood on it and everything. He said, the guy who was helping him said, what we have to do is build this in sections that we can handle, stand them up, and then attach the sections together. Mark, our speaker, said, no, we're going to build it in one section, 40 feet long, 10 feet high, and we're going to stand it up. Can't get a crane in, can't get block and tackle, because what he had done is he had this very narrow lot, and he was redoing the basement under his house. So he jacked his house up and put it on blocks, excavated under the house, and he did a preserved wood wall foundation under it. So, and he couldn't even just stand it up, because it was something that it was going to hit. So he had to be able to lift it up, back it out, get it beyond the beam that was supporting the house, and then straighten it up and set it down. Well, everybody told him that's impossible to do. You can't get a machine in. It was too tight. It was too narrow to get anything in. Couldn't get a crane in because there was something on top of it. Couldn't get jacks under there because you wouldn't be able to just jack it up. You had to be able to drag it back, lift it, drag it back, stand it up. What he did is he was able to somehow, and this is the amazing part, he was able to get 40 people there. He must have offered a lot of beer or something. I don't know what he did, but he got 40 people there, side by side, and when you have that many hands side by side, it just came up, backed up, stood up, put in place. the impossible, what people said was impossible, is done. And his point is that that is much better than just hearing from somebody else, well done. Because that is something that comes from within. That he said he was going to do it, and he did it. He didn't need anybody telling him now that that's well done, because what people had said is, Mark, what you're trying to do is impossible. However, he did it. Another example he used was of a dog. He lived on a farm, and they got a new dog, who was basically a mongrel from the neighbors, and it was a useless dog for what they needed. It was completely useless. It was basically everybody else wrote it off. I mean, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't bark. It wouldn't guard the house. It wouldn't do anything. It would run away or something like that if somebody came. Everybody told him, this dog, we can't do anything with this dog. We get rid of the dog or whatever. He said, and he's the kind of guy, you tell him he can't do something, and he's going to do it. That's his motivation now, right? And this is, by the way, this is on his video as well that I filmed, so you can watch that one as well, and he'll relay it probably a lot better than I will. But he turned that dog into, through as he explained later, I'm not sure if he did it in the video, because we had a question and answer afterwards, which I didn't tape. Somebody asked him how he did it, and he said he did it in the same way that he was taught as a child how to do things. And he explained how his dad was to him, very encouraging. Not really telling him what to do, but showing him, and being patient. And he said that with the dog, they went on field trips. He showed the dog what he wanted him to do. And by that summer, I'm not sure of all the details, but by that summer, that dog was a great farm dog. It guarded the farm, it chased away the coyotes. It did what a farm dog is intended to do. Everybody told him it was impossible. Another thing I thought that was interesting, which I think is also in the video, is he used to be very afraid of being startled, because he had a couple of brothers apparently who would just terrorize the hell out of him when he was a kid. So he was sort of living on a spooky edge, right? And he decided he was going to do something about it. So what he did is he practiced and visualized overcoming this. For example, if he was sitting close to the door and the door opened, he may feel very startled. So what he did, he said, is he sat on the steps in front of the front door of the house, going down into the garage, which was a common passageway for family members to go through. And he sat right outside the door. So if anybody went through the door, they would trip over him. And he would visualize while he was sitting there, somebody opening the door, and him just calmly saying, "Oh," or something like that, just not doing anything, just being there, as opposed to, getting startled. And did it over and over again. And little by little, he became less startled. And I must say, he seems like an extremely calm guy. Now, I don't know what he was like before, I didn't know him. But now, overall, I thought that Mark's presentation was a great presentation. I've heard numerous ones from him. I've always enjoyed them immensely. He's got a great way of presenting, and he's got a great message in all of his videos, or all of his speeches. I didn't film the introduction that I gave to introducing him as a speaker, but I recounted how I first met Mark. As you know, probably by now, I'm in Toastmasters, and the first time I met Mark was at an area contest. And an area contest is basically, during contest season in Toastmasters, we have a contest in the club, speech contest. Whoever wins that goes to the area. Areas at 4 or 5 clubs get together. Whoever wins that one goes on to the division. Whoever wins that goes on to the district, and on the international contest, and so on. And I was at the area contest, first time I'd ever been, and I was speaking. Just terribly nervous. And I saw Mark do his speech before I did my speech. And I remember thinking, darn, am I ever in trouble? There's no way I'm ever going to win this. I didn't win the contest, of course. But he gave a speech about appreciating the little things in life. And I remember he had this long list, and he actually gave us, I think, gave some of us this sheet of things that he came up with off the top of his head, like 100 things that he appreciates. And one of them I remember was the smell of freshly fallen rain. And I remember thinking, wow, that's so subtle, isn't it? But to be able to appreciate that is wonderful. He's a great guy and great message. I just love to be able to have people like that come out and speak, because it's a positive message, and it's a local guy. Local guy you could meet anywhere. He's got a wonderful message to share on, in that case, it was appreciating. And this particular event that we just had, it was on, what do we do when people say that's impossible? That's impossible. A lot of the times what they're talking about is not actually impossible. It's not actually impossible. There are things that probably are impossible. I don't know. But most of the things that we say are impossible are not impossible. I think Mark did a great message. Gave us a great message on that. I'll sign off for now. It's been great chatting. We'll talk again soon.